It's been a week since I made my last game, and I could take a break to prevent any potential burnout, as if it hasn't happened already. Alright, check this out. I'm thinking we run that back. We're making another one, and this game is going to have far cooler stuff than the previous one. For example, there's going to be keyboard and gamepad support, and there's going to be local co-op so that you can play with friends if you're together. Yeah, I'm aware that online multiplayer is all the rage, but local multiplayer seems easier to implement, so that should make this game easier to code. This time, we're gonna do 2D for a change, so just gotta change this real quick, and I have to restart the program. There we go, and to start out the project, we got a top-down view, a circle that you can move around with some weapon. This seems familiar. Okay, well, to take away some of that similarity, you don't have to play as a circle, you can play as a triangle or a square now too. I wanted the character selection to be more diverse and inclusive, which is why instead of just having a bullet shooter, there's a bomb thrower and a sword, knife, slasher thing, so that's a step in the right direction, I guess. I immediately focused on the main menu, but waited until I borrowed some extra controllers to test out the multiplayer, so the enemies were the next goal. It basically went like, draw their art in Google Drawings, and by draw I mean use the pre-made shapes, and then code them. Yeah, nothing really has changed. Keep in mind, most of these enemies are copies of one another, so that made things faster. Next thing you know, I got 30 enemies in my stash with more to come. I am actually so goated. Once the controllers arrived, I went back to the main menu to complete what was started. Plus, the main menu is basically the introduction to your game, so the goal is to make people want to play the game more, assuming they cared enough to download it in the first place. Because of that, you should be careful with how you name your creations, like don't name them something stupid. Yeah, no one's playing this now. I also started to work on the audio at this point, and I'm gonna just do a bit of this, a bit of that. You know, it's almost like I've done this before. And there we go. Okay, the audio is not as lazy as it looks. There are new sound effects created from scratch, but then again, there's a good amount that are pitched versions of one another. Also, most of the music are remixes of other songs or random music I dug out from the innermost recesses of my computer's GarageBand folder, so look forward to recycled audio. Now, it would be tidy to work on things part by part for the video's sake, but in reality, I did post-processing, sound effects, music, bug finding. More on that later, by the way. Enemies, things to make the main menu look cute, and useless attempts to fix the main menu all at the same time. Now we gotta tie this all together into a coherent game. The way this works was, I made 50 pre-made levels for each of the 4 checkpoints, and each checkpoint requires you to beat 25 random rooms from the full 50. I tried to rank all of these in terms of difficulty, but the rankings might not make any sense. At all of the 25 starting points, the game picks a 3 to 5 level subsection of the ranking, and picks one of the surrounding levels, and that's why you might start the run at level 2 and suddenly go to level 4. Having 50 levels sounds like a lot of content until you realize the visuals are the same few rooms reused over and over again, and a lot of them are just rotated versions of one another, except for the one on the right. That's important for later. This whole process was really repetitive and mind-numbingly boring. I contemplated forcing players to just suck it up and go through all 50 levels while trashing the randomization stuff so that the game is longer, until I playtested the stuff both alone and with some people, where we quickly figured out something. The game's kinda hard. A lot of the difficulty was by accident, which has changed by now. I was tempted to give you a big thumbs up, maybe hand out more stats at the end of every level and send you on your way, but that's boring. So at the moment, there's several ways on how to make progress with the game. Could either make the game more interesting, work on the ever so multiplying amount of bugs, nah, save that for the end. Work on the multiplayer aspect of the game, nah, the end deserves that too. Or manually make another 150 levels for the checkpoints. Hey gang, it's future me a week later. I found another thing to work on, and now abilities are in the game. I'll add a few more that any class can get, and also figure out how to make the system work smoothly into the game, but per usual, I got bored and I wanted to move on to something else, so that's a problem for another day. This system did introduce a bunch of spaghetti code into the game, and that may have caused disastrous effects on its development later on and contributed to the game taking so long. As to how the players will get these abilities, they'll probably get it in some random room in the middle of the game. I'm sure I'll figure it out. If there's one thing I realized while staring at this game for hours at a time, it's damn, this game is ugly, or at the very least it's boring. There's nothing to look at other than some shapes as well as ground.png. Google Drawings is cool and all, but it's not cutting it for the environmental assets unless the game was going to look like this. So I resorted to Blender and gave the levels a whole new glow up. Oh my god. Blender was also useful for making breakable objects because there's this feature called cell fracture that breaks things apart. Apparently, breakable objects give people a lot of dopamine, and because I agree with them, you're gonna see them around almost every level now. Also, there's environmental hazards that makes each level more interesting and not as bland. I hope they do at least. Thus began the journey to create 150 more levels and polish 200. The process was place the enemies, place the decorations, place the hazards, playtest it, realize it's too hard, adjust it, playtest it again. And that's like a lot of hours. Plus it's 4 checkpoints, so that's 4 times a lot of hours. Let's go back to the big room mentioned earlier. Every time the 50 levels were made for each checkpoint, there would be a larger room left empty. And never mind, you know where this is going. In my last video, when part of the script talked about the boss fight, I had no idea why it was made the way it was, but now that this is how every enemy was made, I understand the method, so I can explain it better than last time, and also make a case on why you shouldn't do it this way. Each boss has a component called the animator, where you could keyframe certain parts of the boss, along with their own script with a ton of coroutines, and when you use this line of code, you can make the script wait whatever amount of time you put in. When paired together, the animator would handle things that were guaranteed, like the boss's sprite color during an attack, and I would let the code handle things that changed, like the player's position. Really thought this way of doing it would save me from writing a bunch of code, but it turns out it was a stupid idea, because it's all trial and error. Whenever you playtest a boss and realize it's not working, you have to change something in the animator or go back into the code. And if you rewrote the code and saved it to Unity so that it could see the changes, it screws over how your current session runs, meaning you have to restart the play session, which wouldn't be that big of a deal had I not added a bunch of inconvenient stuff in the way. But I did. Plus there was a lot of resetting happening, so who knows how long this took. Anyway, enough of that. The bosses themselves count as checkpoints too, because it would suck to go through 25 random levels just for it all to be in vain every time you died to the boss. For the last game, I used Unity's player prefs to store any permanent data on the user's computer, but according to every source on the internet, you shouldn't use player prefs for important things that could let people cheat. And God forbid people cheat on my offline game. With every reason to avoid player prefs, I still used it anyway because it seemed the easiest to use, but everything started to tweak out, so couldn't take the easy way out unfortunately. The current saving system revolves around something called JSON, which is better, so try cheating on this offline game now. I double dog dare you, I triple dog dare you. You physically can't, you literally cannot.
Hey guys, today I'm going to be teaching you how to get to the end of this game I found on the internet. But before we start, according to YouTube statistics, only a small percentage of viewers are subscribed, so please like and subscribe. So first, copy this text I have here with some stuff changed on it. Open this file called save. Just use Notepad, who cares. Change this number right here. Alright, I hope you learned a lot from this tutorial. Once again, please subscribe so that I can afford OBS Studio.
Anyway, by this point, I was going through the motions and approaching what should have been the end of the game's development, and then I realized, oh no, I have to playtest this game to find the bugs. That's gonna suck. Oh, the situation sucked alright. Every bug taken down, 5 more appeared. Remember that spaghetti code in the earlier part of the video? Well, we came back full circle. And then when most of that was done, I realized, oh no, I have to playtest this game with more people to find the multiplayer bugs. That's really gonna suck. Oh, the situation really sucked alright. Unfortunately, there's still bugs that I technically haven't fixed yet, whatever technically means, because I observed them at some points and noted them down, but I could never do them consistently, and may have done a questionable fix for them instead. So if you play this game, apparently you could very well be soft-blocked by a Reaper, which is awesome. And now you're probably like, dude, it sounds like you're making excuses. You're right, but hear me out. If there's a janky part of the game that really can't be fixed, it's the multiplayer altogether. Objectively, there's bugs that actively make the game worse and those that can't be fixed. Or maybe they're not bugs. Maybe they're things you thought as a dev were a good idea in theory until you saw them in practice, where you then found out that they clearly weren't the best idea, which is why you minimize them and polish the game. I recorded a lot of multiplayer playtesting footage, and every one of them had the common theme of unbridled chaos. You can't hear it, but there's a lot of laughter, frustration, and terror behind all this. It was mainly the last 2 emotions. You can guess why. This led up to the grand revelation. What made an aspect of the game kind of unplayable actually makes the moment all the more enjoyable, because you're having fun with those around you. Shared moments of joy are what really matter, and that's why none of this is my fault. Actually, you know what? It's your fault you got soft-locked by the Reaper. Seriously though, my main point about the bugs is that this is why development underwent another period of the game took 7 months to finish. Purely time-wise, worse than the previous game. Content versus time-wise, it's marginally better. As of writing this line in the script, this game is 98% done. And all that's left is to make the video. Oh, all that's left. For the finishing touches, I used Blender and some DaVinci Resolve to make an icon that has nothing to do with the game, a thumbnail for the itch.io page that has nothing to do with the game, and a banner for the itch page that has nothing to do with the game. Though those weren't accomplished without their own problems. And now it's all combined into a finished project that you can get and play. It's free, so download it if you want. I highly doubt this video is going to reach that many people since there's 2 videos on this channel, and I upload slower than a person who doesn't upload on their channel that often. But what should the channel be about from here on out? It's sure as hell not going to be game dev for a long time, because the burnout's hitting hard, but yeah, that about covers it. See ya.